So welcome to another episode of the things you should do when you start FC25 career mode. These are going to be my best tips for when I start my own career mode saves, so I hope it helps you out as well. If you play career mode hardcore, you probably will know all the things I speak about today, but if you're a beginner, this should help you get started. This is part 2 in the series. If you do enjoy it, make sure you leave a like and subscribe for more FC25 tips and tricks. In part 1, we spoke about gameplay settings like the simulation gameplay type. We also spoke about difficulties and all that kind of stuff. But there is a lot of other new settings that we need to talk about before we actually jump into the save as well. This is important because once you set them, you can't change them during your save. So we've got transfer settings here, and this will decide which transfer restrictions will apply to your manager career. You can leave that on active. You can disable transfers this year, which means that transfers will be off for the entirety of the career mode. You will never be able to sign a player. There's also disable first window, which was in previous games as well. And then we've also got only transfers, which means that players can only move permanently. No loans are allowed. And then there's also an only loan setting, which means that players can only sign loan deals. So that could be interesting, I guess, if you want to try it out, but I'm not sure how many people would actually use these two settings here. Transfer embargo is also a new setting this year. It means that your team is prohibited from making transfers. You can choose how many seasons you want that ban to go on for, so you can do 1 season all the way up to 14 seasons. Now there's also the scouting setting, which means you can turn it on or off. If you turn it off, there'll be no scouting in the game. Training plans is also another one. You can leave that on, allowing you to oversee all aspects of your team's training. You can do a fixed rate, which means that recovery rates for energy and sharpness are automatic. You can do always full, which means that energy and sharpness will always be kept at 100-100. So this is basically like a cheat code. Then there's also the difficulty of the opponent, which you can set. Then there's also the financial takeover setting. So the lowest you can do is 10 million, and then the highest you can do is 1 billion. This is just a one-off cash injection as a result of a board takeover. You can always leave it off if you want to as well, but you need to decide this before you get into the save because you can't inject the club with cash afterwards. And then you've got your board expectations, which means that if you leave it on strict, you'll need to meet most objectives to be kept on as a manager. There's also harsh, which means you need a high level of board approval to keep your job. And then there's also the no sacking setting, which is my favorite feature this year. This means that no matter what you do, the board cannot sack you. We all know that this game sacks you for no reason, so I always leave this setting on. But you can also do lenient, which means they're more likely to accept missing an objective, but that doesn't mean you won't get sacked. Youth tournament lengths, you can go down to 3 minutes or up to 20 minutes. And youth player quality, you can decide to play with the youth players in Rush at their full potential or their current overall. I would leave it on current overall because if you play on full potential, you're going to think these guys are so good, and then you promote them, and then they're pretty bad. Training plan recovery rates is another setting. You can leave it on default, or you could leave it on light, which means your players will recover sharpness and energy quicker and use them up at a slower rate. You can do realistic, which applies a slower recovery and quicker decay to the sharpness and energy of your players. Training plan availability, you can have it on manual plus automated. You can leave it on automatic, and you can also do only manual, which means you have to design your own training plans. You can even turn playing training drills on or off, which is the pre-match drills for the temporary play styles. And you can also change this year the development rate for the seniors and youth players. So for the seniors, you might want to keep it on normal. You can even slow it down, or you can make it fast, which means they're going to develop quicker. Youth players can also develop at normal pace, fast pace or slow pace. The game has transfer settings as well, so you can do light transfers, which means there won't be much pushback. Teams will be accepting your proposals. Realistic is a little bit harder to get deals done. Default is just a balanced approach. There's also transfer approaches, which you can do loose, strict. Loose means that the CPU is always willing to negotiate a sale. Strict means that they're less willing to sell. You can even turn scouting on or off and search players on or off. And you can do the different speeds for scouting. So if you're scouting star players, you can do instant results, fast results, normal, or slow. And the other players, known as general players, have the same settings as well. And then you've got international job offers on or off, European competitions on or off, and your currency as well. So this is all important stuff. You need to set this up, think about it before you get in because you can't change it after. Once you get into the save, you will notice that this year we have new menus. So the first thing you should do is just quickly go around the menu, get accustomed to the new control system, the new tabs. It's not very complicated. You should understand it pretty quickly. If you hold the L2 down, you get these tabs here, like Office, Academy, Squad notifications, and you can quickly switch to those things. You can also use L1 and R1 to flick through the different tabs. The central tab has your task list. On the right is the social media. If you press square, you can just open it up a bit more, and you can also close it by pressing the square as well. This thing is like shortcuts, so you can see all tasks here, and you can go and review your scouting reports, or youth tournaments and tactics. If you want to save your game, you have to go all the way to the customize section. Another thing you should do straight away is check your board objectives, because this is going to determine whether you get sacked or not. So go to office, click on objectives, and then take a look at this stuff. So each club is going to have different objectives. Some will be critical, some will be low, some will be high. For Man United, it says youth development critical, but there's no objective. So how does that even work? I'm not too sure. Brand exposure is critical, financial is low or very low, and then we've got domestic success high. They want us to finish in a Champions League place and win the FA Cup. They also want us to win the Europa League as well. The manager popularity rating is also important if you're playing on a crew mode where no sacking has been disabled. You need this number to be as high as possible to keep your job. So yeah, this stuff is very important. You need to satisfy these objectives if you want to keep your job. If you've got no sacking rules on, you won't get sacked whether you complete these objectives or not. It doesn't matter how badly you perform. Another thing you should do is go to your youth squad and check out your youth academy. There might be some hidden gems already in the save. This guy has a potential of 70 to 94. This guy has a 59 overall. You might want to scout for more youth players as well, and you might want to check out the youth development plans. You might even want to play a youth tournament this year. This is the new rush mode in career mode, which lets you play with your youth players for the first time ever, I believe, in a career mode. It's a little bit of fun, and you get to see whether these players deserve to be promoted to the senior team yet or not. Another thing you need to do is check out your players that are available in your team. So go to the squad hub and see your best players, your player stats, their attributes, and also their financial stats as well. Check out the players that are currently on loan. You might want to recall one of them, like Jadon Sancho here, who's out at Chelsea. Here you can release players, you can change kit numbers, you can also do contract negotiations and renewals. The next thing you need to do is enter team management and check out your squad. Get familiar with the players currently. I'm not sure what Martinez is doing up at the top there. Set up a formation that works for you. Set up a lineup that will work for you the way you want to play. If you use the bumpers, you can go to tactics. This is where you can edit your tactics and even import a new tactic using a code. If we press the X button here, we can edit the tactic. So we can do a tactical preset of wing play, tiki-taka, pressing, park the bus. You can pick whatever you want here. You can even change the formation as well. If you use the bumpers, you can go to player roles. This is the new feature this year. This is FCIQ. Each player is going to have a plus role when they're playing in a certain position. So for Højlund, it is advanced forward. You can see the plus there. There's also poacher. False 9 doesn't have it. Target forward, and the other ones don't have it. You want to see what these roles do, and you want to apply them to the player. They have pros and cons. Rashford at the moment doesn't have one, so we can make him an inside forward, which means he's going to play around those green tiles there when he's on the field. You want to do this for each player in the team to enable optimal performance on the field. Another thing you need to do straight away is enter the tactical preset menu. So what you need to do here is just take a look at your coaches. These are going to help boost your players' development. So you would go to attack here. You would click the plus button. If you pre-ordered the game, you might get a 5-star coach. So we've got this guy here, Jay Lee. You want to hire this guy and put him straight into any of these slots here. That's going to give us 5 stars. We've got this guy here that has a 4-star defense. So we're going to make him a defense coach. Basically, you want to get as many stars as you can while keeping an eye on the budget as well, because these coaches do cost money. You can also change your tactical preset from here. There's all the options there. In every manager crew mode save you do, EA gives you the option to enter a pre-season tournament. You will get this invitation early on in your manager career save at the start of each season, and you have the choice to enter into a tournament or just skip the tournaments completely. A pre-season tournament can be good if you're not familiar with the players, not familiar with the team, and it gives you a couple of extra games to test out formations, tactics, player roles, and it gets you ready for the start of the season. Now, they do advertise prize money for these different tournaments, but I think you only get the prize money if you actually win the tournament. It's a 3-game mini league, and whoever comes out on top gets the prize money. Many years ago, it didn't matter where you finished, you would get some prize money, but they changed that. So yeah, preseason is optional, but if you choose to do it, it could be an opportunity to get your team properly ready for the start of the season. A big thank you to Chris, who has been a Vapex FC member for over 2 years now. I'm now putting channel members' names in my videos, so if you want your name featured in my videos, click the link in the description and become a Vapex FC member today. I hope you did enjoy the video. If you did, make sure you leave a like and remember to subscribe, and hit the thumbnail in the middle to watch another FC25 video.